Welcome to Taxidermy Truths, where we discuss the ins and outs of not only the taxidermy process, but the influences on the hunting community as a whole. With over 25 years in the wildlife and taxidermy industry, I host open conversations with artists, experts, and industry giants. From sustainable utilization to shipping rates, we dig into the reality of the experience after the safari and hear real stories worth remembering. Hi there, my name is Douglas Cocroft and welcome to another episode of Taxidermy Truths at Splitting Image Taxidermy. Today's episode is one that I've been excited about for a long time. I'm joined by someone that I truly believe is one of the most incredible artists and is certainly one of the leaders in his field of taxidermy globally. Travis de Villiers. Welcome, Trav. Thanks very much for joining us. I know we see each other on a daily basis, but I think this is an amazing opportunity to touch on a few items of your career, your thoughts, your perspective on taxidermy, and what you've done at Splitting Image Taxidermy to elevate the art of taxidermy the way you have. So thanks for joining. I know that there's a lot of people out there that are going to be very interested to hear what you've got to say. I made a couple of notes, and I thought kind of to get things going, Trav, your background in taxidermy, kind of a short summary-ish. Where did it all start for you?
Started straight after school in Port Alfred. Mm-hmm. And I spent a good part of my career sort of moving around. I've also worked for myself. I've been overseas. So it's sort of just wherever it's taken.
You spent some time in Germany, I believe it was? Germany. All right. And the States?
Yeah. New Zealand, Austria, and then around South Africa. Yeah. Lots of different places, different people.
Okay.
Very eye-opening experience.
But and always the intention to become a taxidermist was this, were you an artist who, growing up, I know we both shared countless stories about hunting. We both love hunting immensely. But was this a case of, I love hunting, I want to become a taxidermist, or I love hunting, and then that journey started down the road?
Yeah, I think it was more like I'm so much more of a naturalist, especially in my younger years. Observation, bird watching, photography, just enjoying nature. And, how can I put it, the way of trying to mix the two from an art point of view and a wildlife point of view. And the penny dropped, and I gave taxidermy a go. And immediately I got a knack for it, so it didn't take much effort.
You say it didn't take much effort. Trav, we've also worked on projects where I literally stand at the door to your studio, which is where we're filming at the moment, and I say, Trav, I've got this idea about a sculpture, and half an hour later you walk back in and there's a beautiful clay sculpture of a rhino or a springbuck. So yes, you've got more than a knack.
It's something I had to develop on my own. There's no real formal training or education in this sort of thing, especially in this country. So it's just was trial and error and just observation of what people do overseas. Mm-hmm. What I've learned from working with people here, pick up a few things here and there and combine it all together. Mm-hmm. And then just, again, try to stay pure to the species that you're working on or the animals that you're working on, just to capture them for what they are. And not really just try and give a vague sort of example, but a detailed one.
So you would see yourself as a purist in your art form?
I think so, yeah.
I'd agree. There's a saying, to be in a constant state of discontent. I think that summarizes your drive as an artist pretty well. In the years we've known each other, you're constantly looking at pushing the boundary to perfection in your art form. It's a very interesting journey for me from the outside watching in, because I have to admit, there's times I watch you working on a piece and I really have no idea what's going on in the matrix of your mind. So as a purist, can you share kind of what goes through your mind when you take on a new challenge or a new project? Is it a systematic way of thinking, or is this just a case of let's roll the dice and see where the creative juices take us?
Yeah, I think it depends on the project, but as well, like I do value opinions from other people when it comes to work, and I'll take ideas from someone here and someone there, and kind of like think about it and try and make a composition of sorts, and just to have a natural sort of flow in the work, as opposed to very stiff-looking, dead-looking type of mount or sculpture.
Absolutely.
It's very important to, I think, just base everything on your observation of wildlife. Referencing is also highly important. Okay. So I don't have a set procedure, but it's generally much the same thing. As it's a lot of research, and then implementing that research, and then just until it's right, just keep doing it, and then when it's done, it's done.
Absolutely. Now look, I know you're busy with a full mount Nyala mannequin, which is I've watched the process and the progress. And it's spectacular already. And I know you're not near finished with it. But what I've learned from watching from the outside is it's not just a case of looking at a picture. It's a case of referencing old notes of animals that you've personally hunted. Going out and hunting an animal, doing body casts, taking skeletal measurements.
All of it, yeah. The more information you have, the better. 'Cause it's kind of a mix between art and science.
Okay.
So without the scientific side of it, the research side of it, then you can do like sort of anything really. I mean, but you won't get it as accurate. So without that, the two coming together, you're shooting in the dark basically.
I find it interesting to watch how you've incorporated technology into what is a very traditional art form in sculpting musculature and working with armatures. You've embraced technology. Can you touch on just kind of as what I would, and I say this with absolute respect and almost like fandom, as a master taxidermist, how have you taken technology and used it to your best advantage?
Yeah, well, I guess with the availability of 3D printing and scanning, I'm barely just touched the surface. I think there's a lot more to it. Yeah. I think a lot more can be done. But for instance, like right here, just making a mega size horn, I think it looks cool. And just to add, like a natural composition to it, because this is natural and yes, flows and everything, and complements the mounts.
No, it's beautiful.
Straight lines in nature don't always get along. So
I have to admit, when you walked into the office and said, "Hey, what do you think? I've made a really big springbuck." I did have another one of those moments where I do question what happens in the matrix of Travis Courtney de Villiers' mind. No, spectacular. I know that this is a piece that you're particularly proud of at the moment, and you're also working on, there's another one similar to this, a lechwe. All right, fantastic. So,
same principle, yeah. Just to try and, again, merge a bit of technology into traditional art.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, let's see where it goes. We can take it all places.
So there's two directions of questioning I'm going to delve into. Number one, going back in your career, I'm not going to ask you to go right back to the beginning, but in recent years, any particular pieces that have challenged you more than most and that stick out in your mind?
Yeah, we did that not too long ago with two lions and a sable, and the sable is suspended in the air. And so it was quite a tricky one to get that right, to hold it all up. But then it also had to go on a turntable and spin around slowly. So
very slowly.
So it was a bit of fun with that.
A bit of balancing.
Yeah, balancing and troubleshooting and creating a contraption that works somehow. So
the outcome of it is a piece that it is alive in every respect other than the heartbeat, because there is that subtle movement all the time. One of the artists that you were working with made a comment that Travis wants us to be able to look at this piece from every angle and see something different. So is that a conscious sort of plan before you start, or are you working in 3D?
Yeah, it's again, a 3D, it's a lot of trial and error, because you don't want something just to look good from one angle. Right. You do want it to be a 360 sort of experience that you can walk around it. So that's when you start playing with lines and composition. So you start to make shapes in your head, whether it be triangular or such, and then sort of move things around so that it catches your eye. So they're like almost like hotspots on the image. Like it just boom, there it is, and then it flows into each other. You see,
Absolutely.
so it's just about creating that sort of fluid movement. Because again, animals are very mobile; they're not stiff.
They're not static. Even the I'm thinking back to that piece of the two lions and the sable. Even the flow of the lions' tails complemented the direction of movement. The splay of the horns for the sable complemented the entire piece's movement.
It's all just connecting dots, like so that when a viewer looks at it, he doesn't know what he's looking at.
Yes.
His eye moves around the piece. It mustn't stop at one point. It needs to move, so that when you look at something, you're looking at it all. That's the tricky thing from an artist, is to try and get that that thought process going with someone looking at it for the first time. I like to watch people look at my pieces because I'm looking at what their eyes are doing, and try and see where it stops. And I see, okay, there's something that I didn't pick up on. Perhaps that there's a stop there. There's a hard angle that doesn't work.
So it's that constant state of discontent. So you're pursuing that element of perfection, but because there's so many angles that you can see it from, this doesn't always happen first time.
You've got boundaries. You can't just make the animal have a weird shaped arm or leg because you want it to flow.
Exactly.
It's got to still be realistic and true to the anatomy. So what is it capable of doing and what is it not?
So there are boundaries in taxidermy that you possibly don't have in other art forms like oil or sculpting or bronze, because you're limited by the skin?
Yeah, the skin. And then if you're a purist, there are artists out there that do use taxidermy as a form of expressing different type of art. Okay. But they don't necessarily worry so much about anatomy and things like that. They're much more concerned about maybe just making something weird and wonderful. Like whether it's like rogue taxidermy, where people put like different parts of different animals together. Yes. Or just pure artists that have no connection to the natural world. They just want to use a skin as a medium. So that my medium is obviously is using the skin, but the challenge I have is to make it as realistic as possible. So there are limitations, and each specimen is different. So,
but even with the limitations, I've watched you take skins, mannequins, your horns, and compile them in ways that accentuate that animal's better features. I think your knowledge of wildlife is a tremendous asset. As a purist, you've grown up watching these animals in their natural environments. And there is a definite love and respect for wildlife.
Yeah, I remember my one studio that I had that was in the bush. So I literally would be working on an animal and look outside the window, and there's a herd of them walking past. That's awesome. So then I make myself a cup of coffee and go stand and look, and then I go back into the workshop and put into practice what I witnessed. So
that being said, let's change direction a bit. As a taxidermist in South Africa, we have certain limitations where it comes to getting the parts, tools, products necessary to do amazing taxidermy. Yeah. What we've done at Splitting Image Taxidermy is to recreate a similar base of products that we call from our own stock. For example, mannequins, printed editions, whether it be logs for bases, rocks, so on and so forth. Yeah. Are you seeing our art form in South Africa on the same level as the international artist, based on us knowing our wildlife? Are you seeing opportunity for the South African taxidermist to do work that is more anatomically correct because of our engagement with the animal? What's your feeling comparing the industry in South Africa to, let's say, the United States?
I think with Americans, they invest a lot of money, certain companies, into developing products for people to use. I think the difference is here, a lot of the times, like the taxidermists here don't maybe have the ability to create those products.
Yes.
they're not skilled in that way. And so maybe the intention is good, but the execution of it is bad.
Right.
Whereas like the American market, for instance, they can have, just about anything at their fingertips with just a quick email, and it's delivered. And we have to go and actually make every single.
But then, in us making it, are we not at the advantage that the mannequins that you're creating are anatomically better because of the knowledge and exposure to those species?
Yeah, I think, again, it goes back to the person making the mannequins.
Yes.
So, yeah, without skill, you won't be able to do it like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's a lack of good quality taxidermy in this country as a whole, but I'm not speaking about our company. I'm talking about the guys that just do it for the wrong reasons. They just want to make money. They're just a quick.
I love this topic. So this plays back to the purist in you. Okay. Splitting image taxidermy, having been around for 23 years, obviously to grow a business, businesses must be profitable. It's a basic fundamental. As a purist, it's often difficult to create that level of artistry whilst remaining profitable and growing a business. Splitting image taxidermy has been very fortunate in that we've got a strong enough team to allow you the opportunity as the art director to create these beautiful mannequins whilst not impacting on the flow and productivity of the general studio.
Yeah, that takes a long time to make sculptures because you've still got to mold it after you've sculpted it. You can't just use it ready to go.
Correct. And there is a challenge in itself.
Because you don't have a flexible mold. You have to make it out of fiberglass resin it's got to handle the pressure of foam and the abuse that foam does on molds. So, it's not, how can I say, it's not a quick thing.
We got lucky, and I'm going to say this as it is, in that the gentleman who does our molding for us happened to have been an aircraft technician and composite specialist prior to coming to Splitting Image Taxidermy. So our molds of your mannequins, they're some of the best in the world, honestly. And they're orange, which I really like. So that's a positive. Trav, just looking at my notes over here, the importance of mannequins ties in with the purity of your art form. Okay? It takes time to create these mannequins. It takes time to get them into production because we can't just pick up a catalog and order. All right? What advancements are you seeing in the South African taxidermy industry that hunters can look forward to? Because I don't know if hunters always realize what is happening inside the machine of taxidermy. They see the beautiful piece on the wall. Where do you think the opportunities are?
Well, I think we are currently on the path to being miles ahead of pretty much anyone who's got African mannequins in the world,
right.
Because we're spending so much time and effort creating it. So our work is going to surpass that of the rest of the world. Just on a face value sort of thing. It'll be more accurate, it'll be better and more consistent. I think because we're spending so much time and effort in developing the forms of the mannequins, it's going to change.
So you keep going back to that foundation of mannequin.
The skin will take shape to just about anything you put underneath it. That's how people can make leather shoes. They just stretch it around a form. So point being, the better you can do that, and the better understanding you have of the taxidermy processing as well. Because it's not just a mannequin, it's also preservation. So preservation comes first in taxidermy and hunting. Once the animal dies, its immune system dies too. But the bacteria doesn't die. So you've got to preserve the specimen if you want a good quality piece.
Okay.
And follow a certain procedure on how you go about curing the skin so that we get it in one piece and it's ready to go.
This sounds like a pro tip, if you ask me. What you're saying now is, and I want to just pause on this and make sure it's clear. If we get a good canvas, based upon the fact that we've got an incredible mannequin, we can do beautiful taxidermy work. All right? So your point on bacteria, bacteria is formed within the first 72 hours. That is when the skin is still in its wet fresh phase, and it's vulnerable. It's just died, immune system is gone, bacteria sets in. Once the drying process is completed, then we're in a position where the bacteria is literally frozen in time. It's dormant. When that skin gets wet again in the tanning, if that tanning is not executed properly, immediately, you have the risk of that bacteria spreading. However, the damage that was initially done in the first 24 hours, you can't undo it.
But we know what we're doing when it comes to tanning. So, I mean, again, we kill the bacteria almost instantly.
Sure.
Sometimes people don't understand the chemistry of tanning, so they can ruin skins.
But the initial damage is done in the first 72 hours.
Definitely, and especially in Africa.
And skin quickly.
Yeah. And get it out of the heat. I mean, It's Africa. It's hot.
It's true.
So heat and moisture and bacteria, they like each other a lot. So.
Trav, let's go back into a little bit of the hunting side. Your first animal that you hunted, can you recall?
I think a steenbok was the first mammal, yeah.
Okay.
It's the steenbok, and then an impala, and then so on and so forth, and gemsbok and blesbok, and But I grew up with my father's a professional hunter, and so I got exposed to a lot of hunting from a young age, and I spent a lot of time with foreigners in camps and entertaining and helping track and clean buckies and
enjoying their experience, the experience of being in nature, not just the experience of, and I hate the term, but not just the experience of killing animals. Yeah. Because to hunt an animal is all of that included. It's the campfires, it's the camaraderie, it's the tracking, it's the struggling. To get into place that you can have a good, fair, clean opportunity at the hunt. It's something I think we share. We share that love of hunting. We've spoken about it many times and sat with more than one beer discussing a great hunt that could be or will be or was done.
Yeah, and it's important for conservation. I mean, the hunting model. People don't really agree with that. A lot of people. Yeah. But hopefully that's not our audience.
Well, it's not our audience directly, but I think as an organization, it's our responsibility to promote that sustainable, responsible use of wildlife and maintaining the value in the animal, and the ethics involved. As a master taxidermist, you have an incredibly important task in that you need to ensure that the work that is being done highlights that experience and respects that animal intensely. I know that there are times you'll look at a piece that we're busy on and you'll say, no, it needs to change. End of story. Because you're seeing something that is, by your artistic eye, it doesn't line up. It's not right. And we need to get it right because you respect that animal so intently. It's wonderful to watch. You've got a window that looks into your sculpting office, and I know I have a good laugh every time I walk past and I see you doing something, or I get to look at your work in progress all the time. It's a great privilege for me because I've seen the evolution of mannequins of the past to what I believe the future of taxidermy will be, which is anatomically beautiful and correct sculptures.
Very easy to do when you've got a good mannequin.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And a good skin. But the two together, you're good. One of the less of the other is the problem. Yeah.
Let's dive into other art forms. Oil, I know you paint. I know I've seen your drawings. Your bronze work, I'm a big fan of, and it is something. It's something well worth checking out. And by all means, if anyone's got questions about Travis's bronzes, which are exceptional, you can always contact us on sales@splittingimagetaxidermy.co.za. Instagram, go and check out our page. Facebook, also obviously YouTube. We have a tremendous channel that is dedicated to entertaining as well as educating so many people around the world on the pros cons of taxidermy, shipping, and many other topics. Specifically on Travis's side, your bronzes are amazing. I've got a few of them that I own myself. Where's Travis Courtney de Villiers going with bronze? Because I know this is something you're passionate about.
Yeah, I've been meaning to start doing something like this for years, and I just procrastinated about it.
Okay.
And everyone's like, "No, you should do bronze. You should try it out." And I thought, I'm too busy with my taxidermy. I don't have time for
Bronzing.
fiddling around with clay. And then the one I just said, "Well, let's go for it." And I just
Try.
did a piece. And,
Which was your first piece? Your first bronze?
a buffalo bust.
That was the buffalo bust eyeball.
Yeah,
Very first one.
yeah, it's called One.
One,
because
that's
it's
right.
the first one.
Yes, absolutely.
And then I just started playing some more of that and seeing what I can create. So the idea is that we go life size with this.
Well, look behind me here. Here's a beautiful. It's a. What would you call this size-wise? What's your scale?
So simple maquette as well.
Okay.
I guess that's an average good size for a bronze, but I'm talking about to scale life size.
Yeah.
So that's the goal eventually. But
I
we'll get there.
particularly love this piece. It's of a beautiful bull. We both worked with this bull. It's incredible. Love these pieces. You've done buffalo and leopards and countless other species. If you had to choose one, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Choose one bronze that you want to do. Life-size piece that you could pour your heart and soul into, one piece. What would that species be?
I don't know. It's like asking what my favorite color is. I don't have one. I guess just something I would think is something more dynamic. On a larger scale.
Absolute life size.
Yeah, on a larger scale, I think. I would say one of the cats, maybe,
Right.
or maybe some sort of a gazelle or impala or something like that. But just in motion would be cool, not just standing. I think that would be quite difficult to do.
I think as a taxidermist, the last 20 odd years, we've been judged on our cats. If you can do a cat, you must be a good taxidermist. And I would agree, because the lines of symmetry in a cat are particularly difficult, whether it's a caracal, leopard, lion, whatever it is. I'd love to see you do a life-size leopard bronze. Your leopard mannequin that you sculpted is by a long way the most impressive leopard mannequin I've ever had the privilege of working on. It is spectacular. So knowing what you can do with the anatomy of a leopard in that format, I'm certain you could take it across to a bronze and do something dynamic, unique.
I just might be a bit insane for the end of it with the amount of spots I've got to count. But
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, a few thousand on there.
But you know what? As a creative, once again, I don't know what goes on in the matrix of your mind when you're creating these things, but it is quite impressive. Trav, you've had the opportunity to enter competitions globally. You've won at a very high level. You've competed. Yet you're humble about your art form, and you love your art form. You love taxidermy. Our journey together at Splitting Image Taxidermy is one that's just begun, and I'm very excited. It's incredibly exciting. It has brought to me, it's brought a depth of love for this industry and taxidermy as an art form that I never dreamt I would delve into. You've inspired not only myself, but an entire team of artists all around you. You've inspired outfitters and hunters to look after their skins and get us that perfect canvas, because they get to experience the art forms that we're creating. It's a real privilege to spend time with Travis on a daily basis, to watch him as an artist and someone who's intensely passionate about wildlife and what he's doing. Last question before we tie this up. We've got a new brochure coming out, and on the cover is something completely unusual. I don't want to be the spoiler alert, but I'm really excited about it. The piece, we came up with the name Breaking Chains, juxtaposition between aggression and innocence. You did a spotted hyena for the cover. Keep an eye out on the Instagram stories for this one. It's an incredible piece. The brochure looks absolutely amazing. Our marketing team they've fired out the blocks and created something spectacular. The hero of the shot is that hyena.
You guys threw a curveball at me there.
Curveballs. You love curveballs, man. It's something that just knock it out the park. You created this hyena. You created the movement, all the makings of a perfect piece. We've already seen numerous hunters that have hunted all over Africa we've shared the picture of the hyena with on the sly. And they've all come back and said, we want that one. I think it's worth remembering that Travis is an artist. He's a conservationist. He's an incredible person to spend time with because he has a library of facts in the back of his head like no man I've ever met. You're going to be able to see his work on the cover of the Splitting Image Taxidermy magazine, really, which is going to release in 2024 at the shows. We've got some amazing projects planned. And yeah, Trav, I can only thank you so sincerely for all you've contributed to Splitting Image Taxidermy, for all you do for wildlife, for hunting, and for conservation. You are a master at your trade, truly. And in my opinion, after 25 odd years in this industry, I do believe that you are, if not the foremost, you are one of the foremost taxidermists on this globe that we live on. Both, I can't say that it's just here in South Africa. I will say that it's internationally. What you do for Splitting Image Taxidermy is quite remarkable. I'm very proud to have you as a member of this team and someone that sits next to me and drives this company. I can't wait to see what you're going to come up with next.
But it's also a credit to the teams that we have. There's a lot of passionate people in the area, and I think together we're all going to make some incredible stuff. It doesn't take just one person. No, it would be impossible. But
they say in Africa it takes a village to raise a child. It takes an incredible team to create beautiful taxidermy that we get to share all over the world. Trav, thank you very much. I appreciate you spending a bit of time, and you and I could talk for ages because of our shared passion and love for taxidermy and wildlife. I hope that this has been an enjoyable chat with someone who is truly a master taxidermist and gives you a bit of insight into the moments in our industry that are truly worth remembering.